All right, Dr. Cologne is in the building. Welcome to the Godcast, Dr. Cologne. How you
Welcome
doing
to the
today, bro?
podcast, Mr. Cologne.
Good, good, good. Thank you for having me.
No problem, no
Appreciate you
problem.
coming on.
Man,
So you did.
I'll say this: the level of respect that you guys are showing me is quite impressive. There's no antagonist. You're not angry.
No.
Most of the time, people are just jumping on me. So I appreciate that. I just want you to know that.
Oh, yeah. We keep it
Yeah,
respectful here. Keep it
I'm
respectful
out for
here.
my walk, so please forgive me if I'm
that's right.
looking. I'm just talking, right?
So you didn't get a chance to see the film. I'm taking it.
No, not as yet. Mm-mm, not as
Do
yet.
you plan on getting the Blu-ray so you can check it out?
Absolutely. Yeah,
All right, all
absolutely.
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what?
I
I
do. I
think
do
that
know somebody. A friend of mine in Chicago did see it. And we talked about it yesterday, and he shared, a lot of what you guys shared, and so I have my thoughts. I have my, my
Give us some of your
opinions.
give us some of your thoughts, Dr. Cologne. What did you think about what you heard, at least?
Um, from what he was saying, it seemed as though it was one-sided. He said he wished that there would have been Latinos in the film to be
I
able to hear
we
that
do
side of the
too.
story. Yeah.
We do too.
So that was the only thing he felt was a little, it just seemed one-sided. And when they were talking about the B-boys and that history, you mentioned Charlie Rock. Yeah, Charlie does speak, and his eyes kind of bug out when he speaks, but that's Charlie. That's my man. But um, so yeah, I
But yeah,
think
but they did have Sasa and Trixie in there. You know,
right.
these guys are the who nobody was before them, Cologne, right?
No,
Right.
no,
But
no, no.
also the Latinos were invited to do the movie. So it may seem one-sided if people decide not to show up and do the film. Like what is he
Yeah,
to do?
absolutely. As far as I know, and again, I spoke to Tariq. Tariq, as far as I know, I'm the only one Tariq invited to be in the film. I declined for reasons that I won't get into here, but um, as far as I know, he didn't reach out to anybody else. As far as what he said to me, so you know, I don't know if he reached out to Charlie Chase, to Crazy Legs, to any others. I
Here's the
can't
thing. Here's the
speak
thing,
on that.
though. Even with the absence of some of the Puerto Ricans, I
Right.
think there still was a great amount of respect that was shown to the
Okay.
Absolutely.
contribution that
Okay.
Puerto Ricans made when it came to especially the b-boying thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
They gave it up. You know, we put it down. You guys picked it up and ran with it and kept it alive. You know, and now it's all over the world. It's a global phenomenon. You know, and
Yeah.
it probably would have got left to the wayside. You know what I'm saying? Because it was played out to us. You know, our people it was on to something else. It was considered
Yeah.
old school by the time um, Crazy Legs and them guys started breaking and all that.
So let me ask you, what was the narrative in the movie when it came to um, Trixie, Sasa, and then eventually Crazy Legs? What did they say?
Well, they basically talked about how they got started, what they were inspired by,
Mm-hmm.
the people that came before them that they saw that they were looking to. And Sasa talked about, how he was double jointed and he could do a lot of these moves that certain people couldn't do and all of that. And how they got their props in the early days and what motivated them to do what they do and why they eventually kind of stopped doing it. That's basically what it
Hmm.
was. And Trixie cleared up because he said a lot of people thought he was Puerto Rican.
Right.
Yeah.
He liked
So did
or whatever case.
Sasa
Yeah. Oh, because
Right.
of his name. Yeah, because of the
because of
name
his
Sasa.
name.
People didn't even
Mm-hmm.
know him. They just knew that name and they assumed that it was a Puerto Rican guy. So he said a lot of Puerto Ricans were inspired just from hearing that name. Like, okay, that means we could be down with this. You know what I'm saying? And he
Yeah.
learned that
Yeah. Yeah.
his name meant source. He learned that later on. He didn't even know that his name meant source in Spanish. you know. So they were just telling their story, man. Everybody was just getting an opportunity to tell their story because these guys have not been
Have
highlighted
been
in any of the mainstream films or books or anything that has to do with the
or
history of hip hop.
museums.
These guys have been left out of it, and now they got the opportunity to get on there and tell their story. You know, that's basically what it was.
Absolutely. I think, even, I know Red Alert was in the film, and, one of the things I found interesting that I was told, again, I want to see it, but he had told me that they showed a clip of Crazy Legs on Drink Champs. I guess he was saying that Disco King Mario was half Puerto Rican or, whatever that was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Red Alert, when Red Alert was on Drink Champs as well, he also made the mistake of saying that Sasa was Latino.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought it was interesting how they showed what Crazy Legs said, which is obviously not true. Mario is not Puerto Rican.
Right.
One of Mario's daughters is Puerto Rican, but it's not the daughter that was in the film. So,
right.
We do know that. But I think when it comes to the B-boy aspect, one of the things I think is important to understand, and if you would permit me to just share this, when it comes to Trixie, Sasa, Dancing Doug, those are basically the Herc, the Herc dancers. They went to Herc parties. They were not breakers as we know breakers, right? They did what was called burning. Charlie Rock has already, mentioned this numerous times. I have videos of him on my channel that just speak to that.
What's the difference? What's the difference? And your
yes, so yeah, it's not even my opinion, but what they say. But burning is all up top, right? It's not really. They did do drops to the floor. They did. I'm gonna pass you, buddy. Excuse me. They did do drops to the floor. They would do splits. They would do a lot of the stuff that they would see James Brown doing. This is from 70 to I know Trixie ends in about 75. So it's not until 1975 that we really get, it's actually late 74, 75, that we really get people, when we say going to the floor, we mean the footwork, what you typically see in breaking. And those were done by people like the Zulu Kings, and a number of other groups that, I was already informed they did not even mention. And that's neither here nor there. But, what Sasa and them did, so when Trixie retires, I mean, there's interviews out there with Trixie saying, we didn't really, what we did and what breakers did was different. Okay, so that needs to be pointed out, and I don't know
semantics.
if it was. You think it's semantics? Okay, talk to me about that. What do you feel?
Because I feel like it's obviously differences in some of the moves, but a lot of the moves were still the same at the same time. Maybe there were some different tricks, that were put on to the moves and things like that. But the floor work, the spinning, and things like that. There's videos of foundational Black Americans doing that in the 30s and 40s. Like, so it didn't have a name though. And I think that's where the disconnect is. It's because it was being done, but there was no name.
Right.
Okay.
The lingo a lot of times is what disconnects the continuity of the history. But what was being done with Trixie and Sasa and those guys, if Crazy Legs came and they added a move here or there, they didn't invent something new. You know what I'm saying? They added on to what they were inspired by. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, But hold
Yeah,
on.
I
It's
would I would I
like,
would disagree with
hold
that.
on.
I would disagree
It's just
with
like hold on a second, Dr. Cologne. It's
yes,
just
sir.
like,
Yes, sir.
you know, the way Kendrick Lamar is rapping now.
Right,
It's not the same as how Melly Mel was rapping, but
right,
Kendrick Lamar didn't invent something new. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
He's still rapping.
right.
He's still doing the same thing that Melly Mel was doing. And now what some of the breakers started doing in the 80s and all of that, you know, it kind of went to almost like a gymnastics, you know, acrobat type thing, whereas it wasn't as
Mhm.
much in boogieing involved. You know,
Dancing.
what we were doing, you know, brothers was dancing. They was getting the rhythm going, and they would drop to the floor and do a move and get right back up and get back into rhythm
Mhm.
with the jam and keep on jamming. But now what we see them doing just a lot of tricks and flips and, you know, different acrobatic stuff, but it's kind of not really dancing. They're not really on beat a lot of times.
Mm. Okay, yeah, I respect that. I would just say, you know, it was. I think it was a little because I asked them what exactly did they say about Rocksteady and Crazy Legs because unfortunately that's exactly so they'll jump from Trixie, Sasa, those guys, and then they'll jump immediately to Crazy Legs and Rocksteady as if there was no other crews beginning as early as 1975, and there were numerous crews. So one of those was the Zulu Kings. One of those was TBB. One of those was, you know,
Yeah,
Star Child of Rock, Rockwell
I don't know
Association,
about that.
all of these
I
names.
don't know
Yeah,
about that. You know, a lot of the OGs out there are saying they don't know about some of these crews.
I know. Yeah, and
We
I've
can go
heard
back
that.
and
I've
forth with
heard
that a
that.
lot. You know, we can go back and forth with that a lot. But what we do know is this: when we look at a lot of the historical pieces about hip hop, when they're
Hmm.
just sticking to the breaking part, you know, you saying that they're skipping over certain sections. A lot of these documentaries and things, they just start in the 80s. They act like it started with Crazy Legs and
Mhm.
those guys.
Right, right,
You know,
Mhm.
they don't
right,
even mention Trixie. They don't even mention Sasa. You never even heard
right,
about these guys. They just start off with Crazy Legs in
right,
1983 or something.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
And you're right. But I think the reason that so Trixie, I don't know if you know this or not. So whenever there's jams in the Bronx today, Trixie shows up. Sasa not so much, but Trixie shows up to a lot of the b-boy events. There's a b-boy event right now happening in the Bronx tonight. I'm guaranteed he's probably there, right? So he mixes and mingles with the Puerto Rican, and most of these events are Puerto Rican crews. So the reason why they did not include him, now they included Zulu Kings. They include, you know,
Who
majority of
included?
the Zulu Kings were, you know,
Who are
African Americans. Huh?
who's they? Who's they? Who's they? They included them.
We're talking about what you're talking about, like the media, right? So
Okay.
Mhm.
unfortunately, that's where so they jump right to the 80s, and you know, it would lead people to believe, oh, that's when breaking begins, and look, it's the Puerto Ricans. That's not the case, right? So it goes before the 80s, but it's a mixture of black and Puerto Rican b-boys. But again, a lot of these crews
Beginning?
and huh?
In the beginning?
Yes,
Let me ask you
absolutely.
this. We don't got a bunch of time. And
Yeah,
what I would like to do, Dr. Cologne, because again, we having a respectful conversation. But what I
yeah.
would like to do is once you get a chance to actually watch the film, I would
Hmm.
like to get you back on so we could really, you know, just talk about the film itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
get your thoughts then. But really quick, because we're gonna close out soon.
All
But
right.
I'd like to get, you know, your explanation on this aspect because
Mhm.
again we have film going back to the 1930s 20s 40s of black Americans doing similar dances before there was a such thing as hip-hop. You know,
Yeah.
we see foundational black Americans doing a lot of these moves, very similar dances to what we've seen happening with the b-boys in the 70s and all of that.
Hmm.
But we can't trace anything like that back to Puerto Rico. So
Right.
where so how do you explain the roots of it if we don't see it coming from Puerto Rico, but we see it in the South?
So when we say, you know, just so that there's clarity, right? So when we say Puerto Ricans, you know, there's the, and I'm not saying you're doing this, I'm just explaining. A lot of people seem to assume what we're saying is it comes from Puerto Rico. And we're not saying that. What we're saying is these are Puerto Ricans who were born and raised in the Bronx. These are New York Puerto Ricans. Never
Right.
been to the island. I never been to the island in my life, right? But so that's who we're talking about.
Right.
So we're not talking about people who came from the island and brought something from Puerto Rico to New York in reference to the dance. That's not
Okay,
what we're saying.
right. I agree.
So
I agree.
that's something different. But we are saying that as Puerto Ricans from New York got involved. Now, the first time I see this is 1975. So I see blacks and Puerto Ricans doing this as early as 1975. I'm from the Bronx. I'm watching this, right? I'm just looking at what's happening. And when you talk to Sasa, when you primarily, really, when you talk to Trixie has said that what they did and what we did was very different in the sense. Now, again, you could trace, like I've seen those 20s videos, I've seen the 30s videos, and yeah, you could see what looks like that move, and that looks like that move. No doubt about it. You can see that. But I think that there's a difference between moves and movements. And so there's a movement that is taking place in the Bronx that is not connected to those moves from the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s. I understand the idea of evolution.
Not connected is incorrect. You know,
Well,
there are some different moves that were created later on. People innovated on the thing, but I'm saying, are you saying that's not the root of where these people are saying that was their inspiration? They were looking at James Brown. They were looking at.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
James Brown is different. James Brown is different than what we see with people like the Berry brothers, what we see with the Nicholas brothers. Those,
but
right?
The point
People
is,
hit
it
the
didn't
floor.
come out of nowhere. The point is, it didn't come out of nowhere and get something new was created in the Bronx. It has roots. These are the roots of it.
But it's not connected to the movement. That's all I'm saying. It's not connected to the movement of the Bronx when hip hop is formed. It's not. They're not connected.
It's the predecessor. It's the progenitor.
Okay, and we can agree to disagree on that, but that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I don't agree with that because I don't see, I
don't think we're going to agree. I don't think we're going to agree, but we could end it here because we've been on here for a while tonight. We're about to end the broadcast. But I appreciate you coming on. And like I said, after you watch the film, we'll get you back on. We could talk. I don't mind.
I don't even know. I just happen to just be scrolling through, and I don't even know what channel this is, man. Forgive me. What are we?
Right now, you're watching Sincere Love the Godcast. We're at Godcast Enterprises on YouTube. Okay. We do this every Sunday, by the way, for those of y'all who are just tuning in. We do this every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, where we come on here, we talk about current events and other issues that are important to what's going on in Black society. Let me get my sister Nicely back on here. We had lost connection with her for a second. But yeah, I'm Sincere Love the God. This is my lovely co-host, Nicely Girl. We are Sincere Love the Godcast, and this is what we do. So yeah, I'll hit you up. Like I said, I've seen some of your stuff. You've been going viral based on this whole thing. You've been going viral a lot. So I'll hit you up so you can get the information. So after you get a chance to see the film, we can reconnect.
Absolutely, bro. And again, I appreciate the level of respect. When I tell you it's unusual, believe me when I tell you it's unusual. Most people are just at my throat.
I'm a representative of foundational Black American culture, so I'm not going to allow the riffraff to be the representative of the culture. Everybody has riffraff within their society, but this is how we get down. You know what I'm saying? We could have an intelligent conversation. We could keep it very respectful because the truth is going to be the truth. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be rah about the truth. All I gotta do is just say what it is. So I
Right.
Stand on
appreciate you
that.
coming on. Enjoy the rest of your walk, man.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Thank you,
Appreciate you,
guys.
and
Dr. Cologne.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to building with you again.
all right, man. Peace.
Peace.